Well, technically we're early, but that's only because the pay-per-view ended so abruptly and so, well, actually early. Because if you look at the schedule on this show, it says 11:30, and there's a reason for that because I had no idea how long this thing was going to go because we were promised 6 hours and didn't necessarily get 6 hours. Not in full, at least. So let's do this properly. Welcome to another edition of a WWE pay-per-view podcast, exclusively here on the Popcast Network. This is the final co-branded WWE Raw and Smackdown branded podcast of 2017. Of course, we have another one coming up in December, but other than that, my name is Owen, and I am pretty much going to tell you right up front that I was not able to view the show like I'd like to because work. So needless to say, because of that, I was unable to see most of the show, but I did get a chance to check out a few things. So joining me, as always, to basically cover the entire show, as he does oh so well, and that is Ashley.
Yes. Oh, sorry. It got confusing for some of the stuff that happened.
Indeed. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you haven't checked out our NXT TakeOver War Games podcast from last night, go ahead and check that out. It was actually a really enjoyable show and something I did actually get to watch a little bit more of. I can say I watched more of this than I watched of Survivor Series. But as I look at the results, I'm a tad bit puzzled about some things. Ashley, did I see correctly that somehow, some way, we had another Battle of Owens t-shirt collection on the pre-show?
I'm trying to think which Sami Zayn shirt you've got, but
I got a couple of them, actually. I don't have the newest one yet. I'm getting that probably on Black Friday.
yeah.
But yes, another battle of my t-shirt collection.
Pretty much. That's what they decided to throw at us and whatever.
So take it away.
So, pre-show. I guess to start off with. So time to randomly have Elias versus Matt Hardy. Because reasons. Yum. Elias did what he could to sort of get heel heat. Just hard to do because there weren't that many people there. In all honesty. Really about it is basically in not that much time it was back and forth, and then Elias one would drift away. But at least the logic was that he was working away at his shoulder and threw him into the ring post, which led to the finish. So he systematically weakened an injury or a body part, an injury part. That's logic. Yeah, it was all right.
So, Ashley,
nothing special.
Before we go any further, we have to acknowledge chat. Welcome everyone in chat. I see Timbo, I see One Triple S, and I see Jeremy Mills. Jeremy says hi. Hi, Jeremy. Timbo says, yikes, what an awful ending. One Triple S hated the finish. How could Triple H botch this ending? Just tells me Vince hates him. We'll get to that. Don't worry.
It's all part of the plan.
Matthew is going to have a lot of work on his hands on this show. At least what I saw.
Speaking of, just because of who's in the match, Enzo Amore and our boy Kalisto for the cruiserweight belt. Enzo did his promo. Kalisto in sort of like, I don't know, skull gear, maybe. Basically, the finish was Enzo pulling Kalisto into basically the side of a turnbuckle because I think Enzo was trying to use it exposed and whatever, and managed to eventually use it to his best, and followed it up with the eat defeat. The what do they call it for him?
It has an Italian name to it, but what I'm seeing here in results is soul food.
Oh, Giorzundo.
I like the Kurt Cobain better. That's probably the best name for it, but that's the one that's the most politically
Giorzundo is the one that they use.
Yeah.
I was going to say like bloody Breezango or something, but it was yeah, it was okay. Nothing to write home about.
Well, what do you expect, Enzo?
Exactly. Lol. So then yeah, let's do a random addition with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And they do their heel sort of thing backstage, saying, you know, also hyping up the 365 thing. Basically, yeah, I won the IC title and the Universal title here in Houston. But you know, those weren't any. You know, those were my personal moments. Fans weren't. It wasn't their moment. It wasn't them having their sort of exciting bit. But you know, all the fans can kiss his ass and whatever, all that sort of stuff. And then Breezango came out and said, "Well, we're gonna have to ticket you because you have smelly facial hair." I was like, "What a great response!" It's annoying. It should be better than that, but it was all right. Basically, there was the hot tag. The finish came with the hot tag to Fandango after Breeze getting worked on over quite a bit. Had his, hot push, and as he was going for his top rope leg drop, Owens got out the way of it and connected with a pop-up powerbomb, and the one true team are the team that wins. Thank God. Which is sorry to Breezango, but the other guys are in the angle, and let's be honest. At certain points, it was looking like it's they're going away forever.
Honestly, surprised they didn't have Fandango and Tyler Breeze go over as like a punishment in their eyes.
It probably wouldn't make sense, especially when you've got other matches where faces are going over. I mean, New Day, Shield both would be considered faces for their brands.
Right.
Miz and Corbin would both be heels. The majority of the Raw and SmackDown men's and women's were faces for both of them. The Bar and the Usos are both heels. Charlotte and Alexa. I mean, Charlotte's face right now. Bliss, possibly a tweener? Maybe?
That's debatable. I'd say she's more of a heel.
And Brock and AJ, I'd say both are faces. Depends if you want to classify Lesnar as a face or not. I guess the stuff that also came out from the pre-show and did keep feature in the main show. They had John Cena introduce and talk about Ferdinand, because that's really going to connect with, you know, diehard wrestling fans. I voice a bull. Sort of not. And then we got the idea of, here's an issue. Shield versus New Day opens. So New Day come out, cut a pretty good promo. New Day rocked and all that. And then they have a video package highlighting them and the Shield. I'm going, oh, why are we doing this to fill in time? Because that's clearly what it's done. I didn't realize it was going to be put in to sort of drag it to somewhere close to 4 hours rather than drag it over 4 hours. The other weird thing is as well, when Shield came out, Dean and Seth had the Raw Shield split shirts, either in their pocket or in their hand or on their waist. Roman, he don't give a fuck about the brand. There's nothing. And then the other issue as well was they had a 5-man announce desk.
That's a problem.
The reason why it was 5-man is, of course, Corey's the guy that connects both of them. So he was in the middle, trying to be sort of impartial as he could, with obviously Cole and Booker gunning for Raw, and Tom and Byron gunning for SmackDown. And your boy Corey flip-flopping, sort of a la anybody when it's like, oh, this is my pick for the Rumble. Oh, I picked this guy. I picked this guy. Sort of thing. Just going with the eddy of the currents and whatever. This actually was pretty good.
Are you surprised?
Well, I'm surprised that the crowd actually didn't give a shit about either side. You know, when Shield was on the offense, they were cheering for New Day. When New Day was on the offense, they were cheering for Shield. Then again, and there were occasional bits of, oh, wait, Reigns is there. Let's boo him. In a fun bit. Then again, with the big finish, when Kofi did get speared at the end, they sort of cheered that. Probably because they felt it was getting to the end of the match, and it's like it was a good spot. And yeah, the triple team power bomb from Kingston off the middle rope. So they went for a super Bubba bomb, I guess, if you will. They did one earlier that Big E interfered in and whatever, and they also, New Day tried to retort with a double team midnight hour, but then Reigns stopped that with a spear to Big E. But all in all, pretty good match. I'm surprised as to why this was the curtain jerker, though. In all essence. I thought we would have had more. But there you go. So then the Raw women are backstage, and Stephanie's giving the pep talk, wanting Asuka to break every bone in Becky Lynch's body. And the most important thing is they did it in such a way so Stephanie basically was dominating and taller and overpowering more than anybody, except Nia Jax, because you can't make her look big against Nia Jax unless you put her on inhuman-looking stilts. And would look way too bigger and whatever. So the Raw Smackdown women's get-up deal, whatever you want to call it, it wasn't too bad. In all honesty, the surprise was there was no surprises. In all honesty. Some of the combinations that we got in the match were pretty good. You know, Natalya really did well in her spots with Sasha and Asuka. There was a lot of solid stuff. And then we had Alicia Fox. Alicia has actually, probably with Naomi, it was a bloody fail. It was just, it was a big old botch. So, first out, in like only a few minutes, which was a surprise, was Bayley eliminating Becky Lynch. To me, that was just like weird. Then, because, you know, reasons, Bayley was first out for Team Raw when she got a super kick Carmella followed by a Tamina splash, which that's what they called it because, you know, we can't bring up the other guy. Then, interestingly, Nia got counted out after Tamina super kicked her on the floor and cross-bodied her on the ring steps. Then the best bit was Alicia was supposed to tap with the Naomi bit, but the ref just counted to 3. You could clearly tell it was supposed to be a submission finish, but the referee just counted it with a pinfall, and then it's like, well, that ruined the finish, didn't it? Make somebody look terrible. I don't know whether it's the referee or Alicia or Naomi or all 3. Then Sasha took out Naomi with the bank statement submission. Because clearly they were trying to follow up submission with a submission, which it did eventually. So then Carmelo got the spin kick and whatever from Asuka. So Asuka's first elimination. Then Sasha got taken out by Natalya. Again, another submission move, this time with a sharpshooter. So it was down to Asuka versus Tamina and Natalya. So that was the most important thing. Because Asuka, at this point, I was like, okay, when's Vince going to screw up the Asuka deal? And then Tamina missed a splash off the top onto Asuka, and Asuka put on a flying armbar and got the submission. And I was like, wow. Okay, I like that. And then she got Natalya a couple of minutes later and transitioned from a double chicken wing into the Asuka lock. Natalya taps and Raw wins. Asuka is the sole survivor. I approve. I thought they were going to botch it up. They honestly didn't. But yeah, admittedly, Lana did sort of get involved and whatever in terms of helping out Tamina and the distraction. But yeah, the Naomi and Alicia bit was a terrible finish for their little bit, and also when they did have the interaction early on in the thing, it was bad as well. Not great. Then, interestingly, they had a thing saying, "Thank you for buying the network." In fact, here's the other content that's coming, which apparently from people that didn't have a subscription or used to have a subscription, they had an email literally like yesterday or Friday saying, "You don't have the network. Survivor Series is this Sunday. Please watch. Please, please." It's a bit odd. Then we had Stephanie and Daniel Bryan backstage, and we're talking about who's gonna win tonight, and you could tell with this bit it was like Stephanie isn't used to actually doing too many good segments, because the pep talk with the women was good because it sounded right, and then with this Brian stuff it sort of wasn't. And Brian basically, she says, "Oh, you must have used your family connections to get Cena on your team," and basically said, if Shane loses, he might be out of commission, and then you might be in charge of SmackDown. And then, in all honesty, you see Brian sort of considering it in such a way where it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we've got another angle to put in the main event. Let's see if Brian interferes or something, because all of a sudden, he wants to run the brand, which immediately, would people would empathize with, rather than the Shane stuff, because of the angle that they, did obviously with Kane and whatever. So then we had Miz and Corbin, which was all right. Maurice was actually in the crowd watching. Got a kiss from Miz when he made his entrance. Corbin was there and trash talked Maurice, so obviously Miz got involved and everything. Eventually, by the end, the Miz Taraj of Dallas and Axel did get involved, which I guess de facto means Corbin's supposed to be the baby face with this. But
I don't like him.
Nope.
Worth noting as well that Corbin blew a kiss as Maurice with him laying out Bo Dallas at the end of days, and he went for his Miz went for his DDT / skull crushing finale combo, which failed. Actually, it was more DDT than the actual skull crushing finale move. But Corbin then came back from the DDT, hit the end of days, wins clean after taking out the interference guys, and Corbin wins. I guess logically it had to happen because they were going to have SmackDown people win. But
Bad decision making.
Well, no.
For that match, I would say so. Especially if it's the blow off. If this is never going to happen again, I guess you can't really have Corbin.
Yeah, but the problem is when you think about it, and obviously this is, in case you haven't watched the show, this is spoilers for later on.
Right.
I don't think the women's team for SmackDown made a logical sense to win. It didn't make sense for New Day to beat the Shield. And it didn't make sense for AJ to beat Brock. You know, Usos beating the Bar seems logical. And Charlotte beating Alexa because of the angle that they've got going with Charlotte makes sense. So logically, out of the four, the one that's strongest to actually have sort of a thing and to try and give momentum to Corbin, because obviously that's what they're trying to do,
right,
was do the result that they did. And to be quite honest, the promo that he did at the end was actually pretty good. Because, you know, he said, you know, Miz, my hand went up and your mouth went shut. And so did everybody else's. I showed you all. And it was like, actually, that's a pretty good line, in all honesty. Nice little bit. Then Bailey got some guy pick a wedding ring, because every kiss begins with a wedding ring that may have a letter. The letter is no! Or something. Then we had Charlie Caruso and Paul Heyman backstage saying AJ may be phenomenal, but he's going to regret beating Jinder and winning the title because he's got Brock Lesnar. Blah, 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 blah. So then Usos versus the Bar, the tag team confrontation. Really good match again. I wasn't sure how it was going to work because, of course, Usos versus Shield probably would have been a better match. But to be honest, they actually did pretty good. The Usos did work it as the faces more than they did. They did cut a promo, like at the start, on the mic before they actually got into it. It was somewhat stiff as well. There was good sort of physical bits, the dives that the Usos did. One of them received the Cesaro forearm, and the other one got the senton from Sheamus. We also got to see the return of the big Cesaro swing, which was nice to see. He put the sharpshooter on afterwards, but the Uso actually made it to the ropes. And then we had a lot of sort of quick near falls and everything. It was fast and furious for the 10 or 15 minutes it got and everything. There was also a bit with one of the Usos giving Sheamus a Samoan drop despite being in the Doomsday position, which is a bit different. But yeah, the finish came with Sheamus missing a brogue kick, got the double super kicks from the Usos, and then one of the Usos did the dive off the top to Cesaro, who was out on the floor, and taking him out, tagged in the other Uso, and he did the top rope splash on Sheamus. And the Usos win, and it's tied up 2-2 in the rivalry. So then we had a Jason Jordan interview. And of course, he got booed massively and says, I feel terrible if I didn't get the chance to compete with my dad, my white dad. In all honesty, I'm 100% healed and 100% behind Team Raw. But in all honesty, I hope Triple H gets eliminated and then Team Raw wins. And part of me's going, you do know with comments like that, Stephanie's going to fire you. But whatever. Then they showed some bloke called Travis Scott. I guess he's famous. Then they hyped up the fact that Survivor Series is going to be in LA next year. Then we had the women's title deal with Charlotte and Alexa. It was all right, in all honesty. Wasn't as good as it probably should have been. They did it right, though, with Charlotte having the advantage due to the, obviously, being taller and stronger and everything. But Bliss started working away at various, basically in the chest and whatever, in the ribs area, because of how hard it was worked in terms of, basically, I think she did it because it took a pounding anyway on Tuesday with Natalia. But then also, if you do that, then it means you probably can't do the figure eight. Spoilers, it happened. Basically, Bliss did go for the splash thing that she does,
Twisted Bliss.
Missed, and Twisted Bliss. Because she doesn't do it as much anymore, it's like I forgot what it was. I think it was off a Charlotte moonsault from what I remember.
Makes sense.
All in all, it was decent. Not as good as it could have been, but there were moments that were pretty good in it, certainly. And pretty solid. But there were some bits where you could sort of see that it didn't gel great, in all honesty. So SmackDown's up 3-2, and I immediately knew, well, bloody Brock Lesnar's winning. It was obvious from that point. The thing is, when we actually got to this match, Brock and AJ didn't feel like it was a match. It actually sort of felt shootish.
Yeah, I could see that.
It did. There was honestly like sort of bits where it sort of felt like they're both going to do all their crazy spots. So there was a heck of a lot of Styles getting suplexed and pounded. But then in turn, you had the high-paced stuff and everything. You know, striking as much as he could. And then eventually just getting overpowered with a couple of moves. It was pretty beautiful, in all honesty. We have phenomenal forearms in there as well. You know, one that was a really good one from the top rope outside to Lesnar, who was on the floor. Then did another one off the ring steps, and then another in the ring. But it wasn't good enough. Then going for a second traditional phenomenal forearm, Lesnar grabs and hits him with the F5. The key thing is, though, Lesnar wasn't in great shape himself because he did have a long hold in the calf crusher, which Lesnar actually sold, which was interesting. The great thing is, though, the escape wasn't a rope break. Lesnar smashed AJ's head into the mat.
That was awesome.
Just over and over and over and over until it's like, well, he's now concussed sort of deal. It's like, I approve, I guess. So then we get to the main event. It's 3-all. It's down to everything. Of course, Triple H was the last person out of all 10 of them. You know, SmackDown was out first, followed by Raw. Also, it's worth noting that the Team Raw had Raw shirts on, apart from Triple H, who just had a red Triple H shirt. Then, of course, Shane's kids were in the front row. Angle had a quad taped up badly. Cena was last out for Team SmackDown and everything, which made sense. And rather than coming out in a SmackDown thing, he just came out in his colors.
New gear.
Yeah, but he wasn't in SmackDown colors.
We got a new shirt
So
to
again,
promote, which I see
somebody
available
that
now
isn't
on
loyal.
shop.
Somebody that isn't loyal. So it opened up with. The great thing is, I think it was supposed to be Angle and Shane, like she was saying, but no. Because Shane tried to get Braun Strowman before the bell, but got basically manhandled. Then we had a bit with Joe and Orton. Then we had Balor and Nakamura, which the crowd went crazy for. And then Triple H tagged in and wanted Nakamura. And that was a nice little bit for what it was. Then we had Triple H and Bobby Roode. And they had a nice little confrontation. The nice bit as well when Triple H did the suck it, and then Rude managed to take him down, and Rude did the glorious. It was like, wow. Then we had Kurt and Bobby, then Kurt and Nakamura, then Joe and Nakamura, and then Strowman got involved and got the running power slam. And Shinsuke Nakamura is the first out. And then Bobby Roode was there, and he got running power slammed, and he got jobbed out. So then Joe was like, okay, Braun, let's go at it. And Triple H is like, come on, let's calm things down. And Kurt's like, I'm the guy in charge, not you. And they had a nice little sort of confrontation bit. Obviously, Super Orton and Super Cena sort of helped out in sort of the advantages. You know, Braun did get put through a table. There was a little bit where we had John Cena versus Samoa Joe, which was pretty nicely worked. So then Joe was sort of about to sort of get the win, but Balor tagged him in. And then Cena hit Joe, hit Balor, and then hit Joe, who tagged himself, I guess, back in. And Joe gets eliminated. So it's 4v3 to Raw now. So then we had Angle and Cena predominantly for a big focus, which of course they played up on the commentary like, you know, this was Cena's debut match and all that. And the nice thing that happened was Cena got a couple of Angle slams. Balor hit coup de grace. Angle gets the pin. Angle beats Cena. Then we had Finn getting hit with the RKO, so he's out. So it's now down to 3v2. Shane and Orton versus Strowman, Angle, and Triple H. So Shane was ready to make the tag because Orton was in a bad way. Sammy and Kevin show up and basically take him, you know, smack him with a steel chair. And then Owens got in the ring and Orton RKO'd him. And then Strowman connected with a running power slam. So that's Strowman's third elimination. Shane is on his own. So yeah, the last line of defense for SmackDown is the guy that isn't actually a wrestler. And rightfully, Shane's like, shit, what are we going to do? You know, and he composes himself and gets in the ring, and it's like, right, let's see what we got to do. And then Angle tagged himself in on Strowman and said, look, it's Captain v Captain. I said it had happened, so we did it. And Shane got some close 2 counts and everything, and then Kurt got the upper hand, hit the Angle slam, put on the ankle lock, and Shane was just about to tap. And then Triple H attacked Kurt, hit the pedigree on him, put Shane on top of him, and Kurt gets pinned. So I'm like, wait, he's on Team SmackDown? I guess. So during all this, Braun and Triple H are sort of staring at each other. And then you have the looks between Triple H and Shane. Because Shane's like, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. And Triple H grabbed him, gave him the pedigree, and got the pin. So Team Raw wins with Strowman and Triple H as the survivors. And, you know, there's like Raw wins, Triple H is happy, you know. But at the same time, you can see Braun is like,
That was my kill, bitch.
and, you know, they celebrate and everything. Triple H raises his arm like, yeah, look at the guy. And Braun's just like, even despite the arm being raised, he's staring at him. Like staring into the deepness of his soul. And Triple H tries to do it again, and it's like, you know, Triple H is just like, yeah, I got what I wanted. You know, Angle lost, but we won. And then Braun just grabs him by the throat and just says to him, if you ever cross me again, you'll never play this game again, Triple H. And chokes him in the corner, and Triple H is like, holy shit. So Braun walks away, and then Triple H attacks him, goes for the pedigree. Braun overpowers him, hits him with the running power slam. And Braun standing over him in triumph, even though they both won. And then Triple H did manage to recover, and then got another power slam, received another power slam for his efforts. And Braun grabbed the Raw shirt, threw it down on Triple H, and walked off. And Triple H is out in the ring. And that's where the show ended. It was a good Survivor Series match. And then when it was the whole, I'm Triple H, I've got to make Kurt Angle look bad, it didn't really fit, in all honesty. Clearly, to me, that the way that they're going to spin it is probably WrestleMania, or possibly because it's Philly, which is just over the road from Pittsburgh, Royal Rumble, have Kurt versus Triple H one last time. In all honesty. It was really good, and then just built to sort of, I don't know, a confusing ass ending, in all honesty, that didn't make little to any sense. And the fact that it ended pretty early, or relatively early, I guess. All in all, pretty solid. But at the same time, it makes you wonder what could have happened if they actually just let it be a match. What it's going to become, who knows?
It's very intriguing. We're setting the bar for Triple H and Braun Strowman to be a program to come down the line.
Possibly that as well. The more obvious was obviously, you know, the stuff with Angle and Kurt. to be honest, what it tonight did was it put Braun as the top guy. We're trying to make him look strong because I honestly think if they don't want to go with Roman winning the title at Mania again, or, you know, being the show closer, Braun beating Brock is clearly the right fit.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's probably what Triple H wants. I think it's Vince that's all about having him being the de facto face buff champion. Whereas Braun, I think, is Triple H's best option, because then it's somebody that the actual crowd does want to cheer for. And if they want to flip him to a heel, they could easily do it in the right action because of his manners and, you know, what he can do. We'll see how it goes. Overall, it felt like the show didn't have to go as long as it bloody well did. Especially with all the promos and the, like, sections that they did with video packages and whatever. Which was a surprising large amount. But all in all, a solid show. Considering previous Survivor Series really haven't been that good. Shield New Day was very good. The women's 5-on-5 had moments. Corbin and The Miz was decent. Usos and The Bar was really good. Charlotte and Bliss was okay. Lesnar and AJ was really good, and the 5-on-5 men's bit was really good, but unsurprisingly with a bloody confusing ending. Because, you know, reasons. I guess the key thing to note is that Raw actually won both of the traditional matches. There wasn't like a one for SmackDown, one for Raw. The wins that SmackDown got were all in the, the champion versus champions ones. I don't know what that means. Well, I guess the most important bit is that Peter Rosenkamp was on the pre-show panel. and HBK, which I guess was good filler, in all honesty.
Well, here's the question. Obviously, every time that I have to miss a show, I'm usually kind of like, I don't know, is it worth watching? It sounds to me like there were some moments that probably should be viewed, but for the most part, it was just business as usual.
All in all, I'd say it's worth watching. But then skipping through the stuff, because obviously you've got the capability to wind through it, whereas live you didn't.
Right.
Because if you whiz through the bits that aren't any good, or just like the bits in between and the filler, you'd probably be able to watch it in about just over 2 hours ish, I'd say.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, just having a quick look at the match between Raw and SmackDown itself, not including obviously the after shenanigans with Braun destroying Triple H, went about, even if you include that in, probably about 40 minutes or so. The next 3 matches from the main event down, Brock, AJ, Charlotte, Alexa, and the Usos and the Bar got roughly about 15 minutes each. Corbin and Dallas got about 10 minutes. The women's Survivor Series match got about somewhere in the region of 20, which makes sense because obviously you've got 9 eliminations. And they actually gave Shield and New Day 20 minutes. So that was actually the longest match of the card. But it did deliver and it was a good match, so you know. Enzo Callisto, I wouldn't say on the pre-show was really good. Elias and Hardy, not so much. And I'm biased for Owens and Zayn and Breezango. I'm sure we both are.
Yep.
So that one's worth catching on YouTube because the pre-show's still on YouTube. But yeah, I'd say the matches that you did miss, Owen, catch up if you can. I wouldn't say when you can, like it's an imperative thing, but they actually were good matches, which you're probably not going to get tomorrow or Tuesday because they're going to be 1, too exhausted, and 2, well, Raw doesn't have a pay-per-view until February. Keep that in mind. That's going to be complicated, isn't it?
I'd say so.
Not in a good way either. We don't even know what it's called as well. Ugh. So yeah, in terms of what's happening at Clash of Champions, I'm guessing we're going to have AJ versus Jinder. I don't know what you're going to do with Sammy and Kevin. In terms of the SmackDown tag team situation, I don't know. Usos and I guess Gable and Benjamin, maybe. Depends if they're heels or not, though, after what happened. Baron Corbin? Who the hell would Baron go up against? That doesn't make sense. I can't work out who that would be. And then Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte and Natalia are having the rematch as part of the Starcade show this weekend, aren't they? Well, we should say next weekend.
Mm.
You know, the Rage in the Cage. And then in terms of the other stuff, I don't know what's going to fill, but yeah. After that, the next pay-per-view is Royal Rumble. So yeah, as I say, there's going to be no Raw actual pay-per-view branded thing until at least February. Plus, we haven't even got confirmation that they're even happening. And there's no details as to what show there is in February. Should probably have a quick look at the WWE events thing, see if it's listed. Because obviously they just want everybody to buy tickets for other shows instead. Oh wow, they're actually doing Braun Strowman meet and greets, which I guess is good. I'm still waiting for it to load. It's all the way down to the end of the month. Random fucking noise. Thanks, WWE. Really confused me. God, this is taking way too fucking long. God, I'm only at December. They're doing a lot of WWE events over the next few months. Jesus. I think they're doing about 15 shows every night, by the looks of it. It's a bit disturbing. Oh, they get sort of off. Wow, so the Raw guys are doing Madison Square Garden when SmackDown at the same time in Chicago. Fair play. I guess the other thing that's worth noting is, considering what I said would happen in terms of all the interference, nothing happened really, did it, Owen?
No, it really didn't. It was kind of a letdown.
The Sammy and the Kevin stuff did. But there was no Bray Wyatt on this show. There was no Paige, so I guess we're going to be doing that on Raw or SmackDown in the upcoming days. Trying to think. You had the interference in the Corbin Miz match, but that sort of made sense for it being there. Nobody interfered to try and scupper the Usos or anything, or the Bar, in their results. There was no interference from anybody regarding Charlotte and Alexa, which again made sense because they've been pretty much established as lone wolves, if you will, at the minute. And then at least there was no Jordan, which surprised me. That's the weird thing. If Jordan had actually interfered instead of the whole, Triple H stuff, I don't think people would have been confused. Because I think I'd have thought people would have saw that bit coming, in all honesty. Yeah, I'm looking. The only stuff that we can confirm is everything up to the end of the NXT and Royal Rumble weekend dragged out in the Wells Fargo Center. Then it jumps immediately to WrestleMania and then the UK tour in May. Or I guess the European tour in May. So weird. No plans for February yet. But still, just like every other time we've done this, if you have to watch one, and not just because of the time, watch NXT.
Yep.
That's the moral of the story. Watch NXT.
Yeah, I kind of was.
Just in general.
I wanted to see. It was never going to happen because I understood why it happened. Well, somewhat. He'll explain more on Raw this tomorrow night or tonight. Now I can say that. But when Triple H pedigreed Kurt Angle and then he pedigreed Shane McMahon, I kind of wanted him to rip off the shirt and be wearing a yellow NXT shirt.
NXT Invasion. Dun, 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 dun.
That would have been amazing.
It would have been so beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
Liam McLaughlin says New Day rocks, New Day rocks, New Day jobs.
Yep.
Still good stuff though. I think that's your show.
Makes sense to wind it up like that.
So what happens? You get a 6-hour show, almost 6-hour show on the network, and we basically sum it all up in about an hour.
Well, you weren't covering it as much because you were obviously busy with the real world. And
Yeah.
I don't mean Miz.
I was adulting. So shook. Anyway, so we've got other things coming up on the network, wrestling related. Tomorrow night or tonight now will be our Monday Night Raw podcast. I'll hopefully be able to do that one. Actually, no, we're having that issue again. I'm going to miss the first hour of the show. So at least it's not as bad. Wednesday, once again, Wednesday is not going to be fun either because we're starting at 9. Normally, we're starting at 9:30. Actually, probably closer to 9:15 if I had to guess. I'm not going to be able to watch anything on Wednesday because back to work still. So we are now building towards our next big event here on the network, and that's Final Battle.
Sorry, I just noticed at the end, apparently, after the show went off the air, there's a bit that's been filmed. Triple H music plays and he sort of celebrates with his Raw shirt back on. And he turns around and walks straight into the Titantron screen. Sort of in a comedic fashion. I guess still recovering from Braun's actions. I'm guessing from the way it's presented, it looks like it was clearly not supposed to be intended. Also, what's more important than Survivor Series? CZW announcing clearly a hardcore match, even though it's not been confirmed yet, with Jimmy Havoc taking on Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy wins. Actually, no. Everybody wins. And I just noticed Total Biscuit saying NXT War Games, let's make everybody look good and get everybody over. Survivor Series, let's put the McMahons and Triple H over.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, Triple H doesn't mind making other people look good. Vince, oh my fucking blood. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yep.
So we've got Raw tomorrow night or tonight. As soon as Raw is over, we got the Wednesday Wrestling Podcast at 9:30 p.m. And next week we're back on Raw, back on Wednesday. We're leading the Final Battle, which is coming up sooner rather than later too. And Black Friday, hot topic. Check out those Bullet Club shirts. There's 5 new designs that are going to be available right after Black Friday, so stay tuned for that. So once again, as always, Ashley, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at Ash is my name UK.
Gaming with Ashley returning soon.
Yeah, I'll perhaps not tomorrow, but I'll try and get a video done for Tuesday or Wednesday regarding the whole EA Battlefront Disney debacle. Because that got interesting.
All right. Follow me on Twitter at Suro and Disney. Follow the network at Popcast Network. Check out our Facebook fan page of Popcast Network or Suro and Disney and Popcast Network. If you want to search for it randomly, like actual, just like type it in. You can do that in the search bar. And as always, in a world where there are a billion wrestling podcasts, we're very pleased that once more tonight you have chosen a Popcast. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
Oh, God damn it, Vince, you stupid set of bastard.